flight conditions. The program consisted in the main of further wind tunnel tests at Ames Research Center to prove the effects of these modifications.
If you look at this craft and you look at Project 1794, you note that the diagrams of the UFO in 1794 are dramatically different than the craft that they wound up. But the whole situation is the aerodynamics that was necessary for them to be going several thousand miles an hour, we couldn't get that.
So you say that they tried to make similar crafts like this?
Yeah, and all of this all ties into really back engineering. Oh, I think we still try to do it.
Okay.
And okay, that's the. Here's a drawing of another one of the crafts that we were trying to hit up on.
And this is kind of like a prototype of the UFO?
Right, of the...
I mean, taken from the...
that we wanted to make. That we actually were wanting to back engineer. We could never get UFOs that fully work the way we wanted to. But that being said, and I have to be very careful and stress this, with that being said, it's like, you know, there was certain aspects through the exploitation of the recovered craft that we did recover and the debris that we did recover that we could back engineer certain items that advanced our technologies 1,000-fold or even better.
Mm-hmm.
If you look from the beginning of the 19th century until the beginning of the 20th century, all the way to the end of the 20th century, look at all the progress we have taken and have made in flight, and in space research, and interstellar research.
Mm-hmm.
Now, anyone who thinks that we did this overnight needs to have their head examined, is the best way I can put it.
I got it on tape, and it was recording. Oh, there it is, over to the left.
Wow. That's a UFO there.
The speed was extraordinary.
It looks like a flying saucer.
Have I been inside of you?
Uh-huh.
Yes, I have.
How looks inside? This is different levels inside, or what?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's very
like
difficult
floors, different floors.
You can have that, not necessarily on all of them, but you can have. But you got to keep in mind one thing: when you go into a UFO, in many cases, it's not like going into an aircraft out here on the airfield, because you know you see how big the aircraft looks on
it's
the
completely
outside.
different, probably.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know, you see the aircraft, how it looks on the outside, how big it is.
Yeah.
You go in. When you go into that aircraft, it's not going to be any bigger on the inside than what it was on the outside.
Uh-huh.
With UFOs, you see a UFO, you know, a interstellar spacecraft, whether it's multidimensional or it's of extraterrestrial origin, meaning it comes from another solar system within our universe, or a other existing universe.
Uh-huh.
When you get in there, you know, you might have a 35 disc object on the outside. You get on the inside, that could be several thousand feet on the inside.
How that happen?
Well, the only way I can explain it is that there is a distortion of space-time. And, you know, I'm not a scientist, so I can't explain fully how it happens.
Uh-huh.
I know that some scientific personnel have been trying to explain this phenomenon. And, you know, not necessarily even those who believe in UFOs, but have had people who have talked about it, other than just myself, who said, look, you know, It was a small craft on the outside when I went back, or when I went in it. It was huge on the inside.
So what you saw inside?
A control department. I've seen crew area that looked like they had beds, nothing like what we have. They looked metal. Only thing is that they wasn't really metal, and they didn't have anything like what we call mattresses.
When you watch these seats, can you tell us what kind of size have these passengers or
Different
people?
sizes.
I mean, like small or like us? I mean, like the human size or?
Well, from what I have seen, you know, most of them were small.
Okay.
But, you know, you have some entities that are huge. You have some that aren't humanoid. You have some craft that I'm sure, because like I say before, I haven't seen every minute detail of every craft that we've come in contact with, are the crafts that are out there that exist. But the ones I have seen, they have, for lack of a better term, I'll say seats that you could sit down in, nothing like the seats we could identify as far as the material they were made out of. You'd see them, they might look metal or plastic, but the situation is, if you went ahead and sit down on them, they're comfortable. They're not like sitting down on a plastic seat or one of these metal fold-out chairs. You actually can conform to the chair. It will conform to your body to make it to where you're comfortable. They would go ahead and have control panels. Control panels sometimes would have dials, some wouldn't have dials. Some of them would have very little instrumentation on them whatsoever. You would have rooms that obviously were, or should I say compartments, that were obviously places for them, for lack of a better term, I'd say recreational, or even dining areas, but they didn't have tables like we have. You would have compartments inside the walls.
Probably they don't eat.
Well, they eat.
What kind of
like
food
we
they eat?
Huh? Well, if you'd ask them,
Something chemicals, liquids?
More vegetarian. But the foods they ate, you know, during space travel, particularly in long-term space travel.
Have you saw the vegetables there?
Yeah, well, the mashed potatoes taste just like our mashed potatoes. It's synthetic. It's not. In short, they don't kill animals to make meat. Okay.
Yeah.
They're synthetic, but they have the same taste. And you got to keep in mind that a lot of times.
Have you tasted?
I have, and you know, you have like how can I put this? You eat something like grind beef there. It tastes like grind beef. You know, hamburger. You know, that's what it tastes like. However, there's no meat product there. How
you feel after that, taking that food?
After I took it, initially, the first time I took it, I thought it was, you know, just a hamburger. And I thought, okay, it's come from this planet or some other planet. But then I was told, well, it didn't come from no animal. No animals were killed.
Have you saw the bodies in these aircrafts? Dead bodies, probably? Because
normally by the time we get in there was no bodies, and that was all removed. And normally what I had to contact or had to deal with was with the living entities. When I'd go on in, I'd be trying to pick up on the impressions and emotions by the living entities that might be there, and sometimes some that might be deceased.
You saw life.
Oh yeah, and I mean when we went there.
How they reacted when they saw you?
Well, a lot of times they would act scared because, you know...
They were scared from you, or you
not
was...
necessarily of me. But I mean, when you went there, you better believe you were afraid. Anybody that tells you when they're going out for a recovery, no two recoveries are the same. And you never know what to expect when you go to a recovery. Bad things can happen, not because they're mean and hostile and evil and all that, but bad things can happen for one reason.
Probably they can predict it.
They're not predicting. They know that man is very antisocial and very evil and very self-centered and is full and consumed with greed. The whole situation is that, and I'll tell you right now, we've been warned. We're not going out into space to go and create military bases in order for us to go ahead and launch our military might and control over this planet and other life forms that might be out there. That is not what they are about. It's not what we're really about. The one thing that worries me right now with this last election, I view this year as a year of hate. And I won't go into detail, but I know that our visitors are very concerned about this election in the United States for this year. There's a whole lot of things I could say about why they're concerned, about how they feel about certain things. First, I am not a big fan of Hillary Clinton. I went down, I checked all of the email that I could get from concerning her, the emails that was leaked to the press and all that. And of course, Trump went ahead and said, oh, this is a dirty woman. Look at all the things she's did. She is a crook. And all this good stuff. And he's basing it all on the leaked email, the leaks that he was getting. He even went ahead and said, well, the Russians are, in fact, hitting up on leaking these emails, hacking her accounts and getting these emails, then hopefully you will find those 30,000 emails that she doesn't want to have the public to see and release those. Well, guess what? When Obama finally decided to go ahead and say, hey, you know, the Russians were in fact hacking the various political offices, and they were moving towards making things better for Donald Trump to be elected as opposed to Hillary Clinton. Then immediately Trump was angry and upset. When they went ahead and briefed, I think it was last Friday, a week ago this past Friday, they went ahead and they briefed the president in the morning, they briefed the president-elect in the afternoon. That was a classified briefing. They released later on a 25-page unclassified brief, and I got that right up here. But there's also a 2-page appendix saying, oh, by the way, President-elect Trump, there was a person who used to be a intelligence operative for MI6, the British intelligence, that independently, for a independent firm that was trying to see what the Russians were doing as far as hacking into the political systems and the democracy of the United States, and they provided a 35-page dossier stating that the Russians had bad information on you that they could go ahead and use against you, and even possibly
against Trump,
and even possibly blackmail you, Mr. Trump, to get you to do some of their bidding as president. But we thought you should know this. Now, we haven't verified this independently. Now, not verify it independently. Well, okay, I go along with that. But what does the American intelligence community think about it? They think that the situation is it's from a reliable source. And by virtue of it being from a reliable source, it could be very valid. Of course, Trump gets very angry and upset and says, damn you for that! You should have never let it been leaked out. Well, it wasn't the American intelligence community that let it leak out. It was the agency that was overseas released it to another news agency who was kind enough to go ahead, put it in PDF format, and publish it. It's 35 pages, and there it is. Unverified, but you know what? Congress is looking into it now. And this is one of the documents they're going to look into closely. And of course, he says, I have no contact, I have no ties to the Russians whatsoever, and I personally believe that to be totally untrue, based on the stuff that I am accumulated from the various news medias. Then he goes ahead. He doesn't want the news media to see anything he's got going on. When he went ahead and said, I'm turning everything over to my kids while I'm president, putting it in a trust for them until I'm no longer president. The media says, oh, can we see, because he had all these files, can we view those files? And he said no. And the first press conference he's had since being elected, which was, what, a couple days ago, he's at loggerhorns with the media, and you can't do that. You know, I'm not big in tweeting. I go on Facebook. I go ahead and post on Facebook. Tweeting, I don't hit up on that much. You know, he's got a routine. Approximately around 6 o'clock every morning, he's tweeting. Heck, here's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to be a subject of his tweet. That madman in Roswell, New Mexico believes in aliens and ETs and UFOs. And, you know, hey, so be it. But the whole situation is, I understand I don't know everything. Trump thinks he knows everything. And you can't be that way. My message to the President Trump would be, make me and others like me a liar. Get in there, do a good job, but in order to do a good job, you got to put the greed aside. Your total focus has to be on how to make America truly great, how to make America truly better. But in order to do that, you have to have a genuine compassion and concern for all the American people. And regrettably, I think he's totally lacking that. It's about self and not others. And from what I have learned in life is that the most important thing is putting other people ahead of yourself and putting yourself last. And if you put others ahead of you and yourself last, you may not come out to be the richest man in the world. You may not have all the money that Trump has. But you know what? You have a satisfied life. And you're happy in life. You can have all the money in the world and be a very disgruntled, a very unhappy person. You can smile, but be eaten up with bitterment and angry and have a miserable soul. I don't think he has a clue on what's going on. I don't think the intelligence community is going to brief him. Obama, I think, wanted to talk about it, wanted to tell, and I think he was briefed to a certain degree. But he was also put into the situation where you don't need to know anymore, and it's very important that at this time that we don't, you know, make it public that they exist and that they are here. But also keep in mind, we always refer to extraterrestrials. There's more to it. They are a multifaceted phenomenon. Some are of extraterrestrial origin. Others come from other dimensions, a multidimensional phenomenon. An intelligence is involved in all of them. And right now, we are the low ones on the totem pole. They aren't coming over here to get anything. Anything that we have on this third rock from the sun is available throughout the cosmos in quantity. So they don't have to come here and kill the piss ants on this planet and take that. And they're not coming here for our intellect, because the intellect is with them. We are still, we don't even rate Neanderthal. Edgar Mitchell said he does not believe that the ETs, actually he says the ETs are not abducting anyone. Well, the whole situation is that we know abductions are taking place. And a lot of people think that a lot of times it's various government agencies within the intelligence community that is doing that. And that could very well be the situation in some instances, but not all of them. there have been abductions that have taken place. Barney and Betty Hill, one of the first ones that became known, that was of an extraterrestrial origin. And the planet that they came from was in a star system roughly 37.5 light years from planet Earth. They call it Theta Reticulum, okay? With that being the case, Betty made it clear. While she was frightened, and of course her husband was frightened, she wanted some proof that that actually happened. One of the ETs on board that ship said, don't be afraid, you're going to be let go soon. You know, no one's going to harm you. But, you know, the experiment where they went ahead and did the pregnancy experiment by putting the needle through the navel. At that time, it wasn't a procedure that we knew about medically, but it was done on her. Now we know about it. But they put it in. It was painful to her. So yeah, there was pain involved. Barney Hill, he had false teeth. They were shocked. How come his teeth come out and Betty's teeth don't come out? What a lot of people don't know, she actually bit one of them on the hand because they were trying to remove her teeth and they don't move, they don't come out. Why does his and yours don't? And she's the one that actually explained it to him why it wasn't that way. Then she saw a book on, for lack of a better term, what she described as a table. A very unusual book. And she knew there's no book like that on the face of this planet. And she says, I want that book. I want to take that book with me, because if I take that book and I can show it to other people, then they will know.
Like a proof.
This really happened. It would be proof. And the one that was befriending her said, it's okay, when you leave, you can take the book with you. Then the one that appeared, the ET that appeared to be in charge, came up and scolded the one that was being friendly to her and says, no, she can't take it with her. When they leave here, they can have no memory whatsoever of what took place here, of what happened. We cannot let that be known at this time. So the whole situation that happened in 65, they wouldn't find out about it until what, 68, 69? Oh, I'm sorry. It was in 60, I think it was 61 when the incident actually happened. 65 is when they finally tried to get help to explain the dreams that they were having. It was put under hypnosis. Well, the whole situation is that abductions have been taking place. A lot of the abductions you hear nowadays, a lot of them are, you know, just hot air.
Travis from Arizona, he has very bad experiences.
Travis, you know, that was real, but the whole situation is they saved his life. Of course, they killed him by accident, but they brought him back to life. When we go out here and you know, people say, well, that's an entirely different situation. No, it's not. They're here, they see the animals on this planet, and the animals are doing everything they can to destroy themselves. And, you know, the situation is, it'd be nice if they would grow more spiritual and survive, and eventually join the others out there in peaceable scientific exploration of the universe in the other dimensions. But first, you have to get that spiritual essence.